Conscious Collaboration brings together entrepreneurs, changemakers, and thought leaders. We aim to highlight the people that embody the idea of aligned mind, body, and business. Each week, we share, discuss, and learn from the various experiences and ideas of our guest experts. Through our discovery, we find a path to an aligned mind, body, and business.
Hi, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Emily, and we are the Conscious Collaboration Podcast. What up, Lisa?
A whole lot, actually. It was a good weekend, exciting weekend to watch.
Yes, it was.
And all your glory.
We did it. It was cool.
We did it. And it was fun.
Really good experience. Yeah, it was so fun.
Let's
tell
everybody what it was.
Participated, competed in my first ever bodybuilding bikini competition. It was a natural, so drug tested for performance enhancing drugs federation called the OCB, and I did really well. It was a big show, and so there were multiple classes in the different divisions that I had entered. And so I was entered in a total of 3 classes, and I placed first in 2 of them. I placed first in my class for novice bikini, and first in my class for Masters 35 plus bikini, and second in my class for overall bikini. So having been prepping for as long as I've been prepping, and basically having coached myself and managed my own nutrition into this whole process, I am super proud of myself. Definitely took a couple of days to celebrate the victories. And now we are right back on the wagon. Going for strength records and potentially getting ready for another show in the near future. See if we can't secure that pro card status. I came so close.
It was so amazing. I was so happy for the both of you, the person that won and you. Like, I was like,
oh yeah, she was great.
Were amazing, like my favorites. It was neat to see you all for all this time practicing and building up into this point that you just made it look easy. And to me, I was like, wow, Emily, you look like a pro up there. Like
Thanks.
It was, really cool moment. It was definitely something I think, Olivia's going to be, remembering for a long time. Like, oh my God, my mom did that.
Big 11/11 manifesting too.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
A lot of stuff kind of just exploding on that day. It was pretty cool.
It
was pretty cool. But I loved it. It's like when you get older, and if you were involved in sports or cheerleading or whatever when you were younger, and you don't really get that, it's hard to find avenues for that as you get older. And, bodybuilding is cool because it's a sport that even though I've been lifting weights for a handful of years now, I wasn't really doing it with like the intention of bodybuilding per se.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've learned is that it's a sport that you can enter at 39 years old or however old you are and still, achieve some things. So, and I've already met, a lot of really cool people, men and women, witnessed a lot of really great sportsmanship. So it was altogether a very positive experience that I'm going to carry forward with me, and definitely gave me a drive to pursue that sport further in a way that I didn't necessarily see at the beginning of this process. So
yay, congratulations.
Altogether, great experience.
Yes.
And I, super fired up to really create some more content here that is health and fitness and strength and nutrition related. I'm really, on a kick right now. I mean, it's my life's purpose to learn and teach health and fitness and nutrition related things. But I'm really on a kick right now because I'm just I'm feeling, how much this whole journey of fitness and weightlifting and whatnot, and aside from just the competition, I'm really feeling how much it has, I have grown as a person. Like I'm not even the same person as I was 3 and 4 years ago. It's pretty in all very positive ways, and I attribute a lot of that to the process of learning fitness, learning nutrition, learning weightlifting, and all the confidence and the healing that has provided me. And it's just something that I observe a lot, especially lately. People who are coming into their healing journeys, their self-development journeys, and that's a great thing. But what I see a lot of is that, especially with you're already more spiritually inclined people, people are seeking passive things towards their healing, which is not a bad thing. That is part of it. The consumption of things, podcasts, books, YouTube videos, all the different learning sources and energy healing and passive modalities.
Right.
Again, all great. I think we should all, seek those types of things that resonate with us, especially if we consider ourselves to be on a healing or growth or self-development journey. However, what I also notice is that often the physical vessel, the body aspect of mind, body, spirit,
Right.
tends to get like people view it as less important, maybe because you kind of just think of the aesthetics of things, especially in considering fitness and stuff like that. Maybe you just are thinking about sort of the muscle bound, like tan, dumb jock kind of thing, and people just tend to place less importance on the physical vessel aspect of the healing process, of the
Oh,
growth and
it's such a
development process.
myth.
It is
Yeah.
so important. It's the foundation,
Yeah.
as I have discovered. You know what I mean? Like physical strength, you cannot disconnect it from mental and emotional strength.
No, yeah, and
And
it's like it's shocking to see, even whatever the, part of life that you're in or whatever phase that you're in, like I see a person's vessel or body being ignored in healing modalities, which is shocking to me. You can't heal if you're depleting yourself. It's very common. I know we've talked about it in our nursing episode as well too. With a client, she witnessed
Yeah.
it in a big way. Happens to moms and dads with young children, putting their health and fitness to the side. It's just like it really needs to be a holistic approach to any track to success, or else you're just going to burn out.
Yeah. So, and that's, just a strong reminder that hey, this is just as important, if not, more in some
Yeah.
cases, depending on, what you're already doing. Um, but the angle I want to take on it today, as we approach Thanksgiving, and then once Thanksgiving comes, really once Halloween comes, it's like this like mudslide, and then you're like, holidays, oh my god,
Mhm.
and then comes what our New Year's resolutions. Now, this would be a great time to go back and refresh on our resolution versus intention episode, but also with that in mind, um, really now is the time to start setting those intentions. the January 1st is just kind of an arbitrary date on the Gregorian calendar. Whereas, well, really, when you're talking about health and fitness, there's never any better time than now. But
Right.
as far as being able to manifest new things into your life and release old things from your life, the energy of right now is primed to do that. So I think that one of the biggest barriers into, creating these changes, because I think once we think about it, even those of us who are not well versed in the health and fitness world, understand that it involves a lifestyle change,
Mm-hmm.
and that encompasses a lot of things. So where we run into the problem, especially with the whole kind of like New Year's resolution thing, is that people try to basically change the whole thing at once. They try to do the whole kitchen sink at once, a whole lifestyle overhaul basically overnight to try to, get whatever results they seek as fast as humanly possible. But that is not the move. That's not, not just in health and fitness, with any goal. That's why the phrase exists, like eat the elephant one bite at a time, right? So that's what we're going to remind you of today, is that creating these massive overhauls and dramatic health and fitness transformations, they're very possible. These are very possible things to do. I've done this. Myself, what I did this past weekend, in comparison to what I was doing not only 3 and 4 years ago, but especially, 7, 8 years ago, right after I had Olivia and stuff. Worlds apart. Massive change. But these massive transformations are created with tiny habits and consistencies applied over time.
Yeah.
Are you going to see a difference, in one day of quote unquote perfect behaviors? Nope.
Nope.
You're not.
A lot of people give up then.
But right. Or, maybe after a week or even a month or something, and, they barely see any change, or especially if they're only monitoring the scale, for example,
Mhm.
and they see normal bodily fluid shifts that, can be upwards of like 5 pounds in a day. And they just, give up on the whole thing. But if you trust the process and you remain, consistent and disciplined with your tiny habit changes over time, then that, a year
Mm-hmm.
from the day that you start, that's when you notice, whoa, like, okay, like I'm actually dramatically different now. And so, this can look like, nutrition, for example. Most people, if they don't have a great nutrition regimen, they're aware of it, right?
Right.
And so, okay, say I'm a person and I have a pretty lofty, fat loss goal, weight loss goal. So okay, I want to lose 50 pounds and get really strong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, if I try to go from basically 0 to 100, going from, for example, not ever tracking macros,
Sedentary.
sedentary, to all of a sudden overnight, I want to apply perfect macro tracking, weigh all my food, and, get 14,000 steps in a day. If I have one day off from that, I'm just going to give up.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, F it, it's too hard.
Right.
I'm just going to give up right away. This is why, we have the statistic of like 97% of diets fail or whatever it is. It's because people try to apply some really extreme method or just try to change everything overnight, and it just doesn't work that way. Whereas if that same person said, okay, I want to lose 50 pounds, that's a fine goal to have. I wouldn't put too much of a timeline on it for yourself, because bodies don't care about timelines.
Right.
Bodies just care about the process and what you're actually doing. So, but if that same person instead started with, okay, I'm going to start prioritizing getting a source of protein with every meal. If they weren't doing that before, a month of doing that, they're probably going to notice a significant difference, we'll say, just from doing that thing alone.
Right. So you talk a lot about protein and the importance of it. Can you give is it different for men and women? And is there like a benchmark that people should be intaking that you would recommend?
The general recommendation now is 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight or goal body weight, like if we're talking about a particularly overweight person. So for a 125 pound person, that would be, you would want to shoot for about 125 grams of protein in a day. So really the only difference for men and women would be, if a man weighs more than a woman or whatever, as far as the protein requirements for that. And that, I mean, there's a lot of different reasons to do that. It is the most satiating macronutrient, so it helps with satiety, especially if you are making sure you eat that source of protein first in your meal. It makes it way more likely that or way less likely for you to then overeat on your other stuff. It's also got what they call a higher thermogenic effect of food, so it actually costs more energy to digest proteins. You burn more calories just digesting the protein. And then of course it's the building block for not only muscle but all tissue in the body, basically. So any tissue healing that needs to be done, muscle preservation, muscle building, certainly. And then there's a lot of other implications as well, brain health, gut health, all the above. So most people, especially women, are not getting enough protein.
Right.
If you're not paying attention to it, you're probably not quite getting enough.
So do you recommend, or do you see in your clients in most cases that you recommend doing some sort of like protein powder or supplement of some sort?
Oh, that depends. It's always best to get any of your nutrients from whole foods first. I personally, I use a protein powder once a day, generally. So, I'll get 20 grams of my 130 plus grams of protein from a protein powder, generally speaking. Of course, if you're traveling or something like that, sometimes you might end up using a little more. Again, you might need to have a protein bar or something like that to meet your daily targets. But generally, I would recommend getting them from whole food sources: chicken, ground beef, Shrimp is my favorite protein. Any
Mm-hmm.
seafood, egg whites, eggs. If you're vegan, tofu, seitan, edamame, all that good
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good tip. I know, in working with you when I was doing my macros, I was shocked how far I was coming in under what you
Yes.
were suggesting for protein until you worked with me on that.
Yes.
So,
Basically, rule of thumb, every time you eat, have
right.
some protein, especially that first meal of the day. We get this one wrong a lot. When I ask a lot of people, like, what are you having for breakfast? It's like
Mhm.
oatmeal, toast, cereal, whatever, which
Mhm.
you could do, but eat your protein first.
Mhm.
It sets you up for better blood sugar control throughout the entire day. So your appetite will be under more control because you're not having these blood sugar, the spikes and dips, which are normal to an extent
Mhm.
with eating food,
Mhm.
but it keeps them a little closer to like a baseline so that you're not having these crazy spikes and dips that are causing like huge hunger pangs and stuff like that. So every time you eat, get some protein, eat it first, and then,
Mhm.
you know, satisfy, be satisfied with whatever else is left, ideally a carbohydrate in a non-starchy veg of some sort.
So you're not anti-carbohydrates. Like there's a lot.
Absolutely not. No, no, no. I
I know
love
that.
carbs. I love carbs.
I
Yes.
think a lot of people, especially, seeing the bodybuilding aspect, think that you're not eating carbohydrates at all. Like, yeah,
Right.
you're eating
Well, but
carbohydrates.
that would be pretty hard to carbohydrates are literally our most
Mhm.
easily accessible form of energy. So, chasing these big strength goals and stuff would be much,
Yeah.
much harder without carbohydrates. Now, we just tend to overdo it, especially as Americans, and especially if we start our meal with the carbohydrates
Mhm.
and we don't have that baseline of satiety from our protein, so then we just it's the overeating
Mhm. Yeah.
of carbohydrates or whatever um macronutrient or
Mhm.
whatever makes up of the calories. It's the overeating of the calories that's the problem. And we tend to, like, when our diet has a lot of highly processed foods in them, those tend to contain higher amounts of carbohydrates and fats. They're designed to be highly palatable, so they're designed to be overeaten.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. I mean, especially
So mhm,
Americans. It's
mhm, mhm.
yeah.
Like the kind of easiest example is to, like, think about a bag of potato chips. And, like, so if you just kind of sat there and mindlessly, made a nice dent in a bag of potato
Yeah.
chips, you could consume 4 or 5 potatoes worth of
Right.
potatoes
Right.
plus the additional calories from, the oil on the chips. Whereas it would be really hard, even for like a big, person, to just straight up eat 4 or 5 potatoes.
Right. Exactly.
So, that's another good rule of thumb to tack on with the protein habit is to eat mostly whole foods, things that you could have found in the grocery store, 80 years ago, uh, where you can identify what it
Mhm.
is, where it came from, um, you
The
know,
whole, like, outer aisle of traditional
the
grocery
outer
store.
aisle for sure, right? And so if you tend to eat mostly whole foods and prioritize your protein in that way, you can make a huge difference in your health, in your fitness, in your body composition, without counting a single calorie, especially if you were not, if you were far from that baseline before. um but yeah,
Yeah.
that's like one of the best examples of, like, I mean, it's habit stacking basically is what we're
Mhm.
talking about. You
Mhm.
kind of pick one habit at a time, something that feels manageable,
Mm-hmm.
something that's measurable,
Mm-hmm.
something that doesn't feel super high and lofty. Maybe it leads up to, maybe you've started with a big lofty goal and then you break it down into these tiny smaller steps. But then once you start successfully implementing these tiny habits, that also provides you with momentum,
Mm-hmm.
right? To keep stacking them, to keep adding these habits, and before you know it, you have done a lifestyle overhaul. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like in okay, so say I pick 5 habits,
Mm-hmm.
and okay, over the next 5 months, every month I'll add a new habit, and by the end of the 5 months, you're doing that. You're prioritizing your protein, you're eating mostly whole foods. Okay, that's 2. And then say you add in your daily non-negotiables. That's 3 more things. You breathe every day, you ground every day, you get sunlight every day. 5 months from now, your health will look completely different. Your mood will look completely different. Your
Yeah.
sleep will probably be better. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you will notice. You
Yeah.
will notice differences.
That's so
Mm-hmm.
encouraging. I just read, I mean, this is very timely. I think it was end of last week. I read a quote and I'm going to butcher the quote, but it was something along of the lines of the you that you desire to become already exists. Now it's
Yes.
just a matter of catching up to that you.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean like
That's absolutely true.
you can't leap into that you. You have to
It's an accumulation of
integrate it.
consistent behaviors.
Through the
Mhm.
consistent behavior, you just eventually embody that. And one day you wake up and you're like, hey, I did it. Like I'm on that stage. I'm actualizing this goal. I'm becoming this that I desire to be. But it kind of sneaks up on you.
And with that same concept in mind, that makes it more palatable or easier to bounce back, I guess. When you do fall off the wagon, quote unquote,
Yeah.
right? Like say you've been consistently prioritizing protein and whole foods for a couple of months, and then you have a weekend where you go off the wagon, you have a pizza, whatever, like a whole pizza. Okay, you can absolutely include pizza uh in an overall healthy diet, but you go off the handle a little bit. You can look at your consistency over time, and you're not going to feel like, oh my god, I just
Ruins
I
everything.
just ruined everything or ruined all my
Yeah.
progress. I'm just gonna take you can just say, okay, well, next time I have the opportunity to exercise that habit, I'm gonna just get back on the wagon again.
hmm
Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. There you go.
Yeah. That doesn't mean beat yourself up and keep on going
Mhm,
down that
mhm, mhm.
negativity.
Whereas if you were trying to, implement this perfect regimen from day one, eh, you would be disheartened so much quicker.
hmm Yeah. I mean, it's not an overnight that you see anything at all. So what do you recommend for people? I know it's different. You're training for competitions, and you have been living this life for so long. But let's say, like in between for you, like in between your competitions, you still stay within your consistency. You still maintain.
Absolutely. And competition is, an extreme example, right?
Mhm.
But I've set myself up already with creating these habits over the years.
Mhm.
Okay. My
Right.
steps, my eating, all of it, my training, my sleep. I have improved upon these things in small ways, literally over the last 3 and 4 years.
Mhm.
So that to prep for a competition really doesn't require that
That many
much.
adjustments.
It doesn't require an extreme behavior change from me because I'm already doing these things at baseline. I just kind of have to like tighten up, and the consistency has to be, instead of an 80-20 ratio, it pretty much has to be like 95-5%, kind of depending on how far we are. But, I just have to be more disciplined and more consistent for a time. But having built those habits over years, it really made the prep process, I don't want to say easy. Easy is not the right word, but it wasn't that bad.
Right.
It
That's
wasn't
how
that
you
bad.
made it. It's how you made it look too. It just looked like just a few little adjustments. And then you
Just tighten
were
up.
snapped back in. So I think one of the misunderstandings is anyone witnessing anyone at your level is thinking that, you're reverting completely back to like an unhealthy state in between.
Right.
So,
No, and that's not the deal at all. And mind you, I label this, I don't call it cheat. I don't call it bad or whatever,
right.
we don't want to give any of these negative connotations. So I call them conscious indulgences. So Saturday and a little bit of Sunday were definitely days for some conscious indulgences, but they're conscious because, I know what the likely, consequences are as far as how my body's going to feel. And, maybe the training that I might miss or whatever, which I actually didn't miss any training.
Right.
But I know the potential consequences, of the indulgence. And I still think in any diet, because if you remember during the earlier parts of my prep, like when I was like 8, 9, 10 plus weeks out, I was eating pizza every weekend and still losing fat. You know what I mean? So there's plenty of room. It doesn't have to be a process of suffering, whether
Right.
you're doing it, even if you're doing it at the competitive level, which most people don't ever need to do that. But you can take those concepts
Right.
and you can look at what somebody's doing during that process, if they're doing it in an intentionally healthy way, which I guess is not that common in the competition process. But you can look at some of these strategies like that bodybuilders use and apply them in a more moderate way to real life. And right, like you don't just be super tight and disciplined for a period of time and then just go batshit
Right.
crazy.
Right.
like,
Right.
like, yeah, I'm gonna have some pizza. I'm gonna have some Krispy Kreme bread pudding. I'm gonna have some Pinot
Right.
Grigio, but I'm not gonna keep Monday is right back on the wagon. And
You're
really,
gonna
for most of
stay
Sunday, I was right
within.
back on the wagon. I was,
Yeah.
back to my standard foods.
Yep.
And by doing that, by having that as my baseline, I just set myself up to be able to enjoy myself on occasion like that without having to concern myself with it, without having
Right.
to feel guilty, without having to feel like, oh my God, like I just ate etouffee and a burger and some bread pudding and wine. Like, fuck it all. I'm just gonna do that every day now. Oh my God. Like, no, I can be like, okay, because I've set myself up for success by being so consistent, like that day is probably going to have a net positive effect on, overall, rather than,
Yeah.
it did take me a few days to recover. I didn't, I went to sleep late that night and everything else. But again, kind of planning for that, and being consistent the rest of the time with those habits, it really makes it easy to bounce back.
So so what you're saying is basically the consistency and the small habits over a longer period of time are where you see the greater, like more
Mhm.
sustainable,
Mhm.
um, healthy
Yeah,
reward.
absolutely, because that's your default behaviors.
Mhm.
What are you doing 80% of the time?
Mhm.
That is what is going to dictate your health, your physique, your strength, all of it. What are you doing 80% of the time?
Yeah. No matter like how successful or well we are at any other category in our life, if we're not being accountable for our health and our body, then, well, I mean, we see this all the time too. Like it can get to the point now. I mean, we're in our middle age or slightly under our middle age now, if we look at
I
today's
hope not. Shit.
timelines. But, it gets to the point where, for us, the longer that we can maintain these daily habits in our older years, we're not going to have to worry about not being able to get off the floor or not being able to go for a walk
Right. Carry our
or
groceries in the
yeah.
house, walk upstairs,
Mhm.
not fall, right? Like hold ourselves upright. Like, falling might not sound like that big of a deal, but, you see this a lot, with the elderly, especially once they have a fall. It's like, I think there's even like a saying, um, like, uh, what is the saying? They fall and then they get pneumonia and die. Something, basically
Oh,
something like that.
geez.
But
Wow.
you can see this progression or regression, I guess,
Mhm.
just from a fall, and then all the systems sort of start to break down. So, preventing that sort of
Mhm.
thing, because 80 years old can look remarkably different depending
So
on
it's
what
not
your
like
habits have been. And then think about your
impossible.
kids too. What are
Yeah.
what are you modeling for your kids?
Right. It's not impossible
How
to
do you
start
set your
these
kids up
habits.
for
Yeah. Like later
you
in
can
life.
start them when absolutely.
Mhm.
If anybody out there is older and thinking like, oh, I feel like it's pretty cool, showing that you can get into these things at 39 years old. But if
Mhm.
somebody's 79 years old, they're not going to be that impressed by that either. But if you're even older and you want to see a really good example of somebody who started later and is just like thriving, kicking ass, there's an Instagram account called Train with Joan. She's, I don't know, she must be 76, 77 now. I think she
Mhm.
was like 75 when I started following her, but she started lifting weights at like
Yeah.
71. And she posts a lot of before and afters and stuff. But she's just, I mean, she deadlifts and she does heavy hip thrusts and she looks
Yeah.
amazing, and she's like running around Tulum in a bikini, and
Yeah.
it's just really great. So it's never ever 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 too late to start. And yeah, the benefits of getting healthy, of getting your protein, of maintaining and even trying to build muscle mass, in later age, the benefits are just incredible.
Yeah.
And that's not just like physical strength benefits either. There's brain health
Mhm.
benefits and as well. So super
Yeah.
important. Hmm.
It's never too late.
Never too late.
I love that. Yeah, I love that account you shared. It's motivating to see, like you said, I'm grateful, to that the kids are active and healthy and to maintain that level, not get into the trap of um unplugging from their health to be able to focus
Right.
on anything else.
Right. Do you think about, you know what I mean? Like, think about what you're modeling if you put your own health to the side
Mhm.
to, you know,
Right.
whatever for the kids.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Are you actually doing something for the kids?
Right.
Or are you modeling that, people should sacrifice their own health and longevity and vitality, for
Mhm.
others?
I mean, I think that's the biggest way to show up that you love the people around you is taking care of
Exactly.
yourself.
Is to take care of yourself and normalize, normalize exercise, normalize lifting weights, normalize, activity.
Positivity and
protein. Normalize protein.
And protein. Normalize protein.
I do. I'm like the protein police, even with Olivia.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, well, it's instilled in her.
Her
She knows
mostly
that.
protein is chicken nuggets, but
She'll get
whatever.
there. She'll get
Yes.
there. Well, I love everything that you've been sharing in your content and your nutritional tips. And I think that's very beneficial. What do you say we take it inside of the Conscious Collaboration Collective and continue the conversation?
Collective. That was okay. I'm about to flex my grammar skills, but that was a hell of an alliteration.
It was.
The Conscious Collaboration Collective, so that we can, what was the rest of it?
There's
two more C's.
2
2 or 3 more C's.
How many C's can we put into a phrase?
Yeah, you're like Eminem over here or something. It's the second week in a row we shouted out Eminem on the podcast.
We're manifesting Eminem.
We really need to get Eminem on the podcast.
Yeah, it's coming. We've said his name as many times as Bloody Mary. So
is it like Beetlejuice, where if you just like say his name a bunch of times, he appears?
Yeah,
in a Beetlejuice costume.
I hope so.
Eminem in a Beetlejuice costume.
Some algorithm may pick up on Eminem.
If that manifests, all right. Like timestamp this. If that manifests, I don't know.
That's it.
I don't know.
We're going on. What is beyond that? It's possible. I mean, from the things that you've manifested since I've known you, it's definitely possible.
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll have a side of the Facebook group.
Yes.
Well, this has been fun. I'm definitely motivated. Always. I was having an adrenaline rush just watching you up on stage and being in that environment and all the positivity.
So cool.
And I think it was really just great that it was focused more on health and positivity. And I think a lot of the misconceptions out there are, everything is just aesthetics, but really great vibe in that. And so I love that you're teaching and spreading these bite-sized tips for us so we can learn for ourselves.
Yes. Bite-sized tips, bite-sized habits, big size health changes over time.
Yes.
You can do it.
All right, Emily. All right, everybody. Let's do this again soon.
All right. Talk to you in 5. Bye.
Bye.
Thank y'all so much for listening to our podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends so they can join our circle of collaboration on this journey. You can find us on Instagram at Conscious Collaboration Podcast, on Spotify, iTunes, and Audible, to name a few. Please join us next time for another deep dive into how you can live life in more alignment, mind, body, and business. Send us your questions and comments in our DMs or email us at consciouscollaborationpodcast@gmail.com. See you in 5 minutes.